My life changed the day I found an old diary in the basement of my house, which I bought at auction. The house was dilapidated, the walls were covered with cracks, and the air smelled of mold and mustiness. I didn't know that this place holds secrets that shouldn't have been revealed. The basement was silent, with only the echo of footsteps bouncing off the concrete walls. I stood with a flashlight in my hand, illuminating dusty crates and old boxes. Something glinted in the corner. It was a rusty chest, locked with a long, broken lock. When I opened it, there was a battered leather diary and some old newspaper articles inside. The newspapers dated back to the 1980s. The headlines talked about a serial killer hunting in the neighborhood. The Gray Man, as he was called in the news, disappeared without a trace after the authorities closed the case. But there were other entries in the diary, details that were not in the press. He came at night, I read, wearing a gray cloth mask. His voice sounded like it was coming through cotton wool. He talked about the missing people, about those who did not return home. I saw his eyes. They were empty like black holes. Suddenly I froze. It got cold in the basement. The flashlight in his hand wavered, and the light fell on the wall behind the chest. There, on the damp concrete surface, were names scrawled, the same names that had been mentioned in the newspapers. Someone has been here recently. I tried to leave, but the basement door slammed shut. The lock clicked, and I realized I wasn't alone. There was a whisper in the darkness, like sounds from a diary. You found something you shouldn't have found. From that moment on, the nightmare began. Now I can't sleep. Every night I hear footsteps overhead, the creak of floorboards, as if someone is slowly walking around the house. But during the day, everything seems normal, until I notice new inscriptions on the walls, new names added to the list in the basement. One morning, I discovered that my car had been moved across the street, as if someone had moved it overnight. There was a piece of paper in the glove compartment that read, "You're next." My hand was shaking when I threw it in the trash, but a minute later, I found the same piece of paper in the refrigerator. I started avoiding the house, but I couldn't escape. People began to disappear in the city, the same ones whose names were in the basement. The police didn't believe me when I showed them the diary. "These are old cases," they said. But I saw how last night, driving past a forest outside the city, I noticed a figure in a gray mask standing on the side of the road. She was waving her hand like she'd had an accident, but as I approached, she disappeared. I found a bunch of photos in my mailbox this morning. They showed pictures of my house taken at night. A shadow in a mask flickered in the frame. On the back of the last photo was written, "You found my house. This is your home now." I can't wait any longer. A cold wind blows from the basement, even when the door is closed. Last night, I heard someone knocking on the wall, rhythmic thuds as if whispering, "You're here. You are here. You're here." I do not know how much time is left, but I'm sure if I open the basement door tomorrow morning, I'll see new names. And my name will be at the top of the list. I haven't slept in 3 days. Sleeping means letting yourself relax, and relaxation here is tantamount to death. Every sound in the house now seems like a threat. Last night, I discovered that all the windows on the ground floor were locked from inside. I didn't lock them myself. This morning, when I tried to go out to the kitchen, the door leading to it was locked. I stood in the darkness of the hallway, clutching a bread knife, the only weapon I had found. The door creaked, and I heard whispers behind it. The voice sounded hollow, as if from underwater. "You have to understand," he said, "this is not a game." I didn't answer, but suddenly the door swung open. The kitchen was empty, but there was a letter on the table. "Have you eaten today?" It was written in large letters. Under the letter is a piece of bread soaked in something dark. I didn't try it. In the evening, I noticed that cracks had appeared in the wall between the rooms. They spread out in the shape of an arrow pointing at my old sofa. I found an old box under the sofa. It contains a dozen keys, a stack of old letters, and photographs. They depicted people whose names I had seen in the basement. On the back of each picture is the date of their disappearance. The scariest thing is that I'm starting to see him. Not in a dream, but in reality. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice a gray shadow in the corner when I turn on the light. One day he was standing at the window with his back to me and looking at the road. I froze, not breathing, until he disappeared, leaving the imprint of the mask on the glass, a wet trace in the shape of a face. I tried to call the police, but the phone is silent. The line just went down last night. Now I can hear someone dialing my number, but not picking up the phone. The beeps repeat endlessly until they stop. I found a note on the windowsill last night. Get ready. It was written in blood. I don't understand whose blood it is. Maybe mine? A few hours ago, I cut my finger while opening a jar of juice. I'm sitting in the living room right now, leaning against the door. The lights are off. I don't want him to see me. But I hear a floorboard creak somewhere. Or is it my imagination? No, it's too loud. The creaking of the floorboards turned into a chain of footsteps. They were getting closer. Every sound reverberated in my chest. My heart was pounding so hard that I was afraid he would hear. The living room door was left open, and I couldn't close it. I risked attracting attention. The footsteps stopped at the doorway. I couldn't see him, but I could feel his gaze through the mask. The air became viscous, as if the air conditioner had been turned on at full power in the room. You're still here. The voice was distorted, as if he was speaking through a cloth. I thought you'd run away. I didn't answer. You found the box. Good. Now you know the rules. The rules? There are always rules, he whispered. You have to understand why they didn't come back. I got to my feet, holding the knife in front of me. Who are you? The one who stayed. He laughed hoarsely, and the laughter sounded like the rasp of metal on concrete. Do you think this is a house? This is not a house. This is a place for those who can't find a way out. The footsteps moved to the side. I backed away, but he stopped. Let's go, he said. I'll show you how it works. I didn't move. Will you resist? Good. Many resisted. He came into the room. I couldn't see him, but I could feel him standing a meter away from me. Have you seen the photos? He asked. Their faces were there. They were also looking for a way out. My finger tightened on the handle of the knife. Do you think a knife will help? He laughed. Do you think I do not know where you sleep? He took a step forward. I rushed to the side, but he was faster. A black-gloved hand grabbed my wrist. The knife flew out of his hands and hit the floor loudly. You're not the first, he whispered, and not the last one. He dragged me to the door. I screamed, but my voice turned into a rasp. You have to understand, he repeated. This is not a game. This. He opened the door to the basement. There, in the darkness, I saw them. Not shadows, not ghosts, but footprints. Scratches, blood, names. And among them is my picture pinned to the wall. This is your room, he said. You're here forever now. I tried to resist, but he squeezed my hand so hard that the bones cracked. You won't understand until you come with me. He started down the stairs. I saw the light of a flashlight flash, and familiar faces flashed in the beam of light. That IT was dark in the basement, but I could see the light of the flashlight gliding along the walls. The beam stopped on a board covered with names. My name is already there, written in fresh blood. Why are you doing this? I croaked. He didn't answer. His hand was holding me tightly, but suddenly I felt him tremble. They couldn't get out. The voice became quieter. You won't get out either. I tried to pull away, but he tightened his grip on my arm. Why? Because it's not a house, he whispered. It's a place for those who can't leave. The beam of the flashlight illuminated a recess in the wall. There were bones in the dust. I couldn't make out their shapes, but they were human. Do you think I'm the only one? He asked. You're wrong. He dragged me to the far wall. There, behind a curtain of rags, were stacks of old magazines and newspapers. The pages were cut out where the photos of the victims should have been. They're gone, he said. But their names are still there. I froze when he opened the drawer. There were keys inside, the same as the ones I found in the box. These are the keys to the doors, he whispered. But they won't open. I looked at him, or at what was hidden under the mask. You're here too, I said. You can't leave either. He froze. You don't understand. I understand, I interrupted. You're part of this place. You are not a murderer. You are the victim." He abruptly released me, and I fell to the floor. "You don't know anything." "Stop it," he shouted. "They've come. They forced us." "Who?" He stopped talking, and silence fell in the basement. "They'll come again," he whispered. "And you're staying, too." I started to crawl towards the stairs, but he grabbed me again. "No," he said. "You have to stay. This law." I punched him in the stomach. He bent over, and I pulled away. He rushed to the stairs, but the door was locked at the top. "You're not coming out," a voice said from behind. "You're already here." He grabbed me again. I saw him take off his mask. "You're not a murderer," I repeated. "You're just like me." He froze. I do not know," he whispered. "I forgot." "Then why are we here?" He pointed to the wall, where the inscription was visible between the names. "They will come for us." "They're already here," he said. "And we can't leave." I felt him squeeze my hand again. "You're part of it now," he said. "You'll be waiting too." And suddenly, I heard footsteps. Not his footsteps. Footsteps from outside. Someone was knocking on the door of the house. "Who's there?" I shouted, but he grabbed my shoulders. "Don't open it," he whispered. "It's them." The footsteps outside the door grew louder. Someone was knocking on the door, demanding that I open it. "It's them," he whispered, trembling. "They've come for us." I tried to get up, but he grabbed my arm. "Don't come out," he said. "They'll take you away." "Who are they?" I asked. He stopped talking, and silence fell in the basement. "They're the ones who created this place," he finally replied. "They said we should stay." I heard the door to the house open. "Who's there?" I shouted. There is no response. Only footsteps on the stairs. "They're here," he whispered. "Run to the basement." He dragged me to the far wall, where there was a narrow passage leading to a dark corridor. "There's a way out," he said. "But you have to choose. Where's the exit?" "I don't know, but it's better than staying." I followed him. The corridor was narrow. The walls were made of raw stone. Finally, we stopped in front of a door covered with a rusty grate. "This is the last chance," he said. "If you open it, you won't be able to come back." I put the key in the lock, the one I found in the box. The grate opened with a bang, and I saw a staircase leading up. "Run," he said, "and don't look back." I started to get up. The steps were slippery with damp. At the top, a door led to another basement, a strange, unfamiliar one. I stopped. "Why are you helping me?" I shouted down. "Because I want to leave too," I heard him whisper. "But I can't." I went out into the new basement. There was an old suitcase full of keys in the corner. I took one and opened the door. There was a garden behind it, the night, the moon, and the road in the distance. I ran without looking back. But there was a letter in his pocket. "You are not free," it said. "They're still here." I don't understand what that means. Only now do I see that there are scratches on my hands, and there are keys in my pocket that I didn't put there myself. And tonight in the dark, I heard footsteps again, that I ran along the road until I stopped from exhaustion. The sun had already risen, but there was a letter in my pocket that I couldn't read in the dark. "You are not free," it said. "They're still here." Are they the ones who created this place? Or is he the one who helped me get out? I tried to remember his face. In the basement, he took off his mask, but I didn't have time to make out the features. I just had a glimpse of something familiar. I found a phone booth at the end of the street. I dialed the police number, but they didn't pick up the phone. Then I went to the store to buy food. In the store, the salesman looked at me strangely. "You're not from this area," he said. "No one has lived here for a long time." "What do you mean he doesn't live?" "This place is abandoned. No one has been coming here for 20 years. I froze. 20 years? Yes. The last resident disappeared in 2003. I went outside, feeling the ground give out from under my feet. There was a letter in his pocket again. "You're not free." I went back to the house I bought, but he was gone. In its place is a wasteland overgrown with grass. I found an old local man sitting on a bench. "This place is cursed," he said. "In the 80s, there was a man who lived here." "What?" He disappeared, leaving a diary. There were names. And the keys. I pulled the keys out of my pocket. Have you seen these? The old man nodded. These are the keys to the basement. But there is no basement. The house burned down many years ago. I felt the cold seep into my bones. How? How can you know that? I lived there, he coughed, before everything disappeared. I remembered the letter. They're coming for us. Footsteps sounded in the distance. The old man stood up and looked in the same direction. The old man stood up and looked in the same direction as the footsteps. You have to leave, he repeated. They're already here. I backed away, but he grabbed my arm. Wait. I exhaled. What is this place? Why is everything repeating itself? He froze, and I saw fear in his eyes. This is not the place, he whispered. This cycle. They created it so that we couldn't escape. I felt the cold seep into my bones. Who are they? Those who live in basements, he replied. The ones who stayed. The footsteps were getting closer. Now I've heard them from everywhere, from the side of the house, from the street, even from underground. They've come for you, the old man said. You have to understand that you are not the first person to come here. I tried to break away from him and run, but my feet seemed rooted to the ground. Why? I shouted. Why is everything repeating itself? Because it's not a house, he replied. This. He didn't finish. A man in a gray mask came around the corner of the house. Him, I thought. The one who helped me get out. You shouldn't have come back, he said. Now everything will happen again. The old man tried to grab him, but he staggered back. You can't stop them, the old man whispered. They'll make you stay. I backed away, but I ran into a wall. What do you want from me? You have to stay, he replied. It's the law. What law? The law of the cycle, said the old man. Everyone who comes here becomes a part of history. He took off his mask. I froze. You haven't changed, the old man whispered. 20 years. I can't get away, he said. Just like you. I looked at my hands. The scratches merged into familiar patterns, the same ones that were on the basement walls. What is this place? I asked again. This. The old man paused, looking at him. It's a place where everything repeats itself. He stepped forward. You have to stay, he repeated, or they'll take you away. Who? The ones who created it, the old man replied. Those who come for us. The footsteps blended into one rhythm. No, I whispered. Yes, said he. You're already here. He pulled on my arm. Let's go, he said. It's time to start over. And I felt the ground begin to cave in under my feet, that I woke up on the edge of the road. The sun was shining brightly, and there was no house, no old man, and no one I called him. There was a letter in my pocket, and I tore it up without reading it. But I still have my keys in my pocket. I got up and walked toward the city. My legs carried me to the center, where the old store stood. There was no one inside, but there was a letter behind the counter. You didn't leave, it said. You're part of a cycle. Everyone who comes here is next on the list. You saw their names in the basement. They're not victims. These are the ones who, like you, failed to understand the truth. I sat down on the floor. My ears were ringing, but I remembered the old man's words. This place is cursed. Cursed or just forgotten. I went outside and saw a billboard. There was a picture of the house I bought on it. A house that no longer existed. For sale, the ad read. I suddenly realized this is not a house. It's a trap. And I'm not the only one who got into it. I went to the police station. The officer looked at me with a grin. You're here again, he said. We've already talked about this. No, I said. I haven't been here before. You came here 20 years ago, he nodded. Or maybe it was another you. I froze. What do you mean? He took out a file folder. The case of the house on the edge of the city. People were disappearing there. Everyone left their keys and a diary. I looked at my hands. The xerox were clean. It's impossible, I whispered. Maybe, he replied. Time is not linear here. You come, you disappear, you come back. But why? The officer closed the folder. Because you are part of the system. You come to repeat the mistakes of the past. You're looking for a way out, but it doesn't exist. Then how? You can't break out until you realize that this is not the place. It's a metaphor. A metaphor for what? A metaphor of human nature. We always go back to the old mistakes. You come here to repeat history. I felt the ground give out from under my feet. You mean, what is it? An illusion. It's real, he replied. A reality where we cannot escape our fears. You come here to realize that you cannot be saved until you accept the truth. You are not a prisoner of the cycle. You're part of the cycle. You come here again and again because you're afraid to move forward. You're afraid of life, so you stay in this place where you can see your mistakes but not fix them. I went outside. The sun was shining as brightly as before. I didn't know what to do, but the keys were in his pocket again. I threw them on the ground, and suddenly I realized these are not keys. It's a watch. The watch I wore 20 years ago. I looked at myself in the store's mirror. I was 20 years younger. I remembered the first time I came here, how I bought a house, how I found the diary, and I realized I'm still there. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. I went back to the road. An old man was standing there. "You're here again," he said. "It's time to start over." "No," I replied. "I'm staying." He looked at me in surprise. "You can't. You have to come back." "Why?" "Because it's your choice." "Then I choose to stay." He froze. "You don't understand." "I understand," I interrupted. "It's not a trap. This is a test, and I'm going through it." I walked toward the house I saw in the ads. For sale, I thought, but I didn't buy it. I just walked by, and for the first time in 20 years, I heard the whisper of the wind instead of footsteps in the basement. I do not know what will happen next, but for the first time in a long time, I felt free.